Cool. Yes, Nick, I just want to first thank you so much for being accepting this invite from us and taking time out to come and tell us about your journey with DronaHQ. And just before we get any deep into any of the such questions, tell us about yourself. What do you do? What is Aperia Tech all about? And what is your role in Aperia Tech?
Sure. So I guess to start, I've been with Aperia Technologies for close to 8 years now. My role is production engineering manager. What that functionally means is that within our operations team, I lead all of the engineering initiatives. Um, One big part of that is managing our factory's data. That's integrating data sources from all sorts of test equipment, um, both on-site and off, and I guess managing / wrangling that data so we have it all accessible in one point. As I mentioned, this is for our factory. Well, that obviously means we make product. So what do we make? So Aperia Technologies is primarily a tire inflation company with a huge, I guess, hand in tire management as well. So we aim to be a one-stop shop for tire inflation management for commercial fleets. What that means is we build automatic tire inflation systems
Okay.
and connected hardware to relay tire pressure data off to the cloud so customers can be aware of the status of their tires, but also predictive analytics. I'm just in the operations factory side of things, but as I understand, fleets are really excited about all this new technology.
Yeah. Interesting to predict. Wow. How many tires I might need tomorrow or my organization might need. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that is really intriguing about it is we can send alerts out to say, well, you've got a leak on your front right tire that we're unable to keep inflated, and you're gonna have a problem within 1 hour, or sometimes it's 12 hours or 12
Okay.
days. And we can predict that so fleets can manage their maintenance accordingly.
Okay, I understand that. So have you also integrated with say the manufacturers of the vehicles, or is it directly to those owners of this vehicles?
So we have a platform that relays, so the customer, the fleet manager can log in and look at the status of all of their tires. And just general health factors of their fleet as a whole and their tire management.
Okay.
But one of the things we're also really interested in is not just delivering one solution that they log into. Each company has their own internal data products and ways that they analyze data. So we're really looking to integrate with all of those separate third-party systems so
Correct.
that our data can be accessible through other mechanisms too. And so that's what we call our Halo Connect product.
Correctly. And you are managing the operations of all this complexities of the offshore or factory versus people who are building those integration software.
So I don't manage the Halo Connect platform as a whole. There's a whole team of software engineers managing that, as that's a huge undertaking. Where I fill in and connect to all of this is that I manage the factory data. So let me close the door here. So we're dedicated to quality here. And one of the ways we do that is to test our product extensively. And our product tests aren't simply pass, fail, and we slap a green sticker or a red sticker on. There's a big database backend on all of the test data so we can run analytics and process control and make correlations between when we did this happened, etc. So that's under my purview, is to manage the factory data. And like I said, we've got partners around the world who are running tests for us. So we want all of that to be integrated in one place.
Okay, okay. That is interesting. So you are like playing with live fire here in the factory, trying to, test all the predictive analysis of the software that they would have done, or just, the kind of software they have built. But what I found interesting was you are not just doing it yourself, but you are also doing this test with a lot of other companies and integrating all the data. So data must be like in various different formats.
Yes and no. We're trying really hard to make a coordinated way of collecting the data.
Okay.
So when we have the opportunity to have our hands on the way that the data is acquired, then we bring it in to a MongoDB platform in a very specific, organized way. There are exceptions to that. One specifically I'm thinking of, we partnered with a company called Blue Clover, and they've got a really great cloud platform for interfacing their electronics testers.
Okay.
That data is formatted differently, but it connects to Amazon S3 beautifully.
Okay.
So I've scripted moving from S3 to MongoDB, and it's still on my roadmap here, but then mapping it to the data format that I'm used to and have browsing capabilities on.
Okay. So you are the only one who is going to manage this data, or you have a team, Nick?
I have a team of 3 engineers working for me. Their primary roles are designing and programming the test equipment. This data architecture and organization primarily falls on my shoulders, but the team does help with that when they're not building mechanical equipment.
Okay, interesting. So just, there are a lot of, if you would not want to transform the S3 data and get into MongoDB, we do have connectors directly integrating and transforming it here. But whatever suits the way you like your data to be kept, the one place you can keep it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because you mentioned it, I was like, okay, you can just bring all the data instead of transforming it and moving it. But yes. So you wanted to build a interface for yourself, or who is going to use this interface that you're building on top of MongoDB? What are you building, Nick? What did you build already?
Sure. So I guess I can answer that best with what we kind of used to do and are still working off of legacy interfaces. We for years have had a MySQL database on premise with really no browsing front end. We just use Windows software for browsing the database, and we download CSVs, or when we need to, we'll create a Python script to interface that database and download data. The barrier to entry on getting in and making use of that data was really high. It could take weeks of trying to figure out how to do filters and export to Excel and make sense of it for a new hire, and that really only was accessible to like people who've had experience with a little bit of programming.
Yeah.
So I was really frustrated with new hires coming in, especially like folks on the quality team who aren't expected to be like software developers or anything like that, and they don't have access to our production data. So one of the goals of getting away from this on-premise solution was get things in the cloud where we can have a web interface for this data and really craft it to the way that we're processing and needing to access it. And we're still growing at this, but it's worked well. There's a gentleman who was hired a couple months ago, and applying filters to MySQL data and running queries is definitely not in his skill set, but that doesn't matter anymore. He's now crushing looking at data and analyzing test results without needing those other technical skills.
So you still have MySQL, and you have also moved the data into MongoDB?
Yeah, kind of the backstory to that is we're developing a new product here. Okay. And setting up a whole bunch of new equipment to test it. Okay. And accordingly, I didn't want to get stuck with a lot of the mistakes of the past. So with this new product, we decided to stand up a new cloud database for storing the data. And as that older product phases itself over the near future, phases itself out, then we'll be able to turn off that database in some time too, and just go with the new product. But it was too much of a project to take on to port everything over.
Okay. So now, yes, let it fade out on its own, have a natural death, and you, in the meantime, you are having a MongoDB database with all your test cases, and you have built a front end on top of it to give an access to all the new hires. Is that what you've built?
Yeah, I mean, it's new hires, it's folks who've been on the team forever, it's management. I mean, I'm trying to build it to a point where it's accessible and useful to all sorts of different people.
Okay. So how long did it take? What were your, so I'm just going, going a little in the backstory, trying to understand how did you derive, or it was just you stumbled upon this software, you stumbled upon DronaHQ and you were like, okay, let me give it a try. Or you were looking with some decision parameters. What were it?
Sure. So I guess, how did that all go? I knew I wanted a front end because it was going to make everybody's life easier. Other pieces of our company work with a consulting firm to build out our website, and they do an excellent job and make beautiful graphical everything, and it's a perfect interface for our customers. But specifying something like that for them and bringing the team up and essentially understanding that I don't have enough knowledge of what I wanted in the first place, it would be really hard to onboard somebody for that, and it would probably cost a lot too. So then I said, well, what if there's more of a do-it-yourself solution? I program a lot in the environment called Node-RED. It's got great interfaces to all sorts of different data sources and equipment and things like that. It also has a beautiful way to make dashboards. I thought, well, if it's something simple, I can just use that. And I thought, well, I'm going to spend all day just making this, and I'll probably be handicapped because it's not full featured. It's just kind of got its small set of tools. So that led me to looking for, I guess, low code front end stuff. And anyone who Googles that, they're going to find both Retool and DronaHQ right out of the gate, right?
Okay.
And so it was a bit of an evaluation between those two products. And what DronaHQ really stood out was its, I guess, way it managed pricing and connectors and users. It was really important for me to not necessarily have costs go up as more end users were coming in.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden that meant it could be accessible by the whole company without making it an extremely expensive proposition. I guess combine that with just needing a few connectors, the DronaHQ had a perfect product for that. And then there was one, it seems very silly or small in the grand scheme of things, but we have data coming off of our machines. We call it our raw data, and we need to be able to browse that through graphs. And I've become accustomed to doing that in a certain way. And Plotly is the perfect tool for executing that. Retool had a very limited implementation of how that works. DronaHQ had the native implementation, which is quite honestly maybe a little bit harder to execute, but it gave me all of the, like, if I can dream of how to plot it, it lets me do it. And having that full capability built in was honestly a big decision maker, because I can browse this sort of data very efficiently with these Plotly graphs.
This detail really is going to make my product team's day today, maybe the weekend too.
Okay, good.
I mean, we love the small details, and wow, this is why the customer loved it. This is going to make their weekend amazing. Thank you so much for the small details. Yeah. Glad you found us. Glad you started with this. You are enjoying. You built it. How was the journey? Were there any feedbacks for us to take? Any struggles that you had? I understand you are also working with a partner. After one point, you started giving a little bit of handhold, or you just wanted to get it finished off quickly or something like that. What is the story behind it, Nick?
Sure. So once I kind of decided that DronaHQ was where I was going to go, I wanted to start building out this front end, and I had all these ideas in my head of how it wanted to go. I could, in moments, connect and display a table of data, but then it became like, well, what if I click on this row? I want a little pop-up window to show the details associated with it. And I probably had figured that out. But then it was, well, let's add some filters to do the table. And then like, let's reformat the table. And all the ideas in my head definitely became like well beyond the scope of what I had time to implement. And quite honestly, the technical like capability of doing without the experience of it. So reached out to folks at DronaHQ, and he paired me up with Yash at AlgoWare, and it was immediately a good fit. He understood what I was trying to do, had the experience to execute it, so that really accelerated the development. I still do weekly meetings with them for 30 or 60 minutes for new features and bug fixes and a couple emails back and forth. And with just that little bit of time investment, I now have like multiple apps doing multiple, business goals that AlgoWare has been able to set up for me.
Interesting. So, how many apps have you developed, and what is the time frame like? Since how long are you using it? Are you already using the first app and now second and third? Can you just share some details on that?
Sure. So the first and most, let's say, comprehensive or complicated is the app that helps browse the manufacturing data. I think I kicked that off and introduced it about 8 months ago to my team. And I don't actually have that much data feeding into it, but when we do, it's ready to go, and that's the beauty of it.
And what was
Yeah,
their
that
first
one
reaction?
took.
Were they happy? How was the reaction of the team? Now they could see things like quickly.
I think that there's a mixed feeling. Like the
Okay.
folks that I was really targeting of never had the capabilities of using the real technical tools. They're
Okay.
thrilled because they can just log into it like anything else, click their Google login, and there they are browsing the data. Some of the more technical folks under me still feel like, well, can we have this feature? Can we have this feature? Why can't we do this? And that's not that we can't do it. It's just, well, why would I implement that tool on the front end when you're going to use it once every 3 months? Like, not a big deal, guys. But in general, it's been well received, and yeah, it's nice for them. And I guess other apps that have kind of spun off of this MongoDB DroneHQ front end capability we were able to eliminate this massive spreadsheet of what customers receive which serial numbers. And now we have this great front end for entering and browsing data. So that's instead of like the quality and the manufacturing team, that's something that's impacting customer service and the shipping teams. And those same guys are tasked every day with taking pictures in their iPhone and then emailing it so they can get it on their computer. And then once they have it there, they save those files on a hard drive. And like every shipment, they have multiple photos and they're doing this mess. And now we have an app to handle all of that, both for taking the photos and retrieving them. So customer service says, show me those 3 pallets you sent to XYZ trucking company. They can either log in the app themselves, or the shipping team can just bring up that sales order and email those photos directly to them from the app. So it's really kind of grown into, well, DronaHQ means different things to other people. To me, it's a programming platform. To them, it's like the thing they log into to make their life easier.
Oh, nice, nice. I think you have kind of found a perfect tool to give all your crazy ideas in a proper shape. Not just crazy, but maybe making life simpler around across your team at this moment. And now bustling with more feature ideas and stuff like that. I think you have found your sweet spot with the tool. Is it
Yeah,
safe to say that?
it seems really well suited. I found a handful of platforms that integrate well, don't cost terribly much, and quite honestly, I'm not aiming to be impressive to others in the company, but it looks that way because I've partnered with people who make me look good with delivering great solutions at reasonable costs. So
Fantastic, fantastic, Nick. So any other further roadmaps you have, any other ideas, apps that you really want to build? I'm sure you are doing more with Yash with your weekly calls and stuff like that. Anything that is very interesting that you're very kicked about that you want to share with us?
I guess the untapped potential is that we use NetSuite as our ERP and our accounting and material management platform. And we haven't really started building connectors into that, and I guess harnessing external software that interfaces it. And we touched on that once recently on a new project related to the warehouse team I was just speaking of. And now that I have that set up, there's ideas going in my mind and others' minds and my boss, and saying, well, can we connect to this data? Can we connect to this data? And I imagine that we're going to be doing that in various ways, with very likely DroneHQ as the front end to it.
Fantastic. Any other feedback that you would want me to take back? You would want us to improve upon? You need more resources, or you want to brainstorm or ask us for a specific feature set? Anything that you want me to take back specific?
I wish I had something. I don't think I'm necessarily limited by the platform in any way. The one thing that I guess me and Yash were able to build out through, I believe it was a JavaScript package, was a pivot table based on data. And that felt like something we implemented that wasn't native, but we figured out how to make it work. And that's a really powerful data analysis tool. If we had that, that might be helpful. But don't get me wrong, we figured out how to do it in a separate way. So that's good.
That's good. That's good. Always feel free to come back to us, or you can ask Yash, whatever, if you have any other feedback specific that you want or you are stuck. Just to let you know, we also, integrate beautifully with POS systems in your warehouse or factory. If you want to even create those kind of front end systems for them to directly input the data so that you don't have to collect it from somewhere else.
Okay.
I'm sure you are expanding from more than your current operations as a factory or a warehouse operation role. I think you have started going into a broader, bigger role and connecting the ERPs and the customer success and the sales teams together. That's very, very interesting, Nick. Very interesting.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to understand a little bit what we do here, and I guess appreciate how I'm using your product.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful feedback. And I hope you can achieve many more such operational and custom tools for your organization and roll out them and make your operations smoother. I love to have this interaction with you. Have a great day, Nick. Fantastic.
All right, you're very welcome. Great to meet you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.